2008 was probably one of the hardest years of my life. I was 16 years old and we got the phone call that I was diagnosed with leukemia. Nobody in my family that we know of had ever been diagnosed with cancer before, and it was a shock for all of us. And me personally, I had no idea. I'd never heard really the word leukemia. I've always seen like the St. Jude commercials at movie theaters or on TV, but I just never really put two and two together. All of 2008 was just a struggle with the cancer treatment. I was supposed to get 6 spinal taps in the first 2.5 weeks of my treatment, and after the 5th one, the chemo got stuck in my spinal fluid and went to my spinal cord and to my brainstem, and it stuck there. And I was paralyzed my whole right side. And it was probably one of the scariest moments of my life because I woke up and I couldn't get up. I was laying in bed and my mom was right there, and I was like, "Mom, I have to get up." And she's like, "Well, just get up." And I'm like, "I can't." She thought that I had just leapt on my leg or my arm wrong and had fallen asleep. So she pulled my left arm to pull me to a sitting position. I fell back up onto the bed, and that's when we both got petrified. I couldn't move. It was scary. We talked to the doctor, and he said that he thinks he knew what the chemo was, but he wasn't sure, but they still wanted to try the 6th spinal tap. So they took all the chemo out except for one, which is the one that he believed was the correct one, and they did the spinal tap again, and this time my whole left side went paralyzed. With the paralysis, I lost the ability to speak, my ability to swallow, to eat, drink, do anything. After about a week, my left side returned, and I was able to move my left arm and my left leg, but my right side was still gone. So it took about 6 months of physical therapy for my leg to come back, and about 3 months of occupational therapy for my right arm to come back, but just very little. The whole physical and occupational therapy took about 3 years for me to regain full motor. I still don't have full momentum today, and my right hand still shakes because of it. 2 months after the paralysis, they gave me another chemo, and I went into septic shock. I was getting ready to be released from the hospital to go home, and all of a sudden my face felt really hot. My skin turned beet red like a tomato. Thankfully the doctor was in there, and he called in all the other nurses and the crash cart, and I was scared. I didn't know what was going on. Next thing you know, I went and fell back onto the table, and then everything blacked out, but I could hear everything. My mom was waving her arms over my face, she said, and I couldn't see anything. I heard all the nurses come running into the room, and I heard all the needle caps being tossed onto the floor as they were trying to pump me with fluids, but nothing was working. That December of 2018, I was in the room getting my chemotherapy, and I was sitting up in bed watching a movie with my parents. Next thing you know, I gave out a very wet cough, and I fell back onto the bed, and I had legally died at that point. My dad said they worked on me by giving me CPR for 3 hours in that room, and then they took me up to the ICU and did another 3 hours of CPR. That was probably the scariest time of my entire life. And now here I am today, and fully trusting in God and thanking Him for allowing me to live and not being able to see that everything I went through was to be able to be a testimony for people to say God is real and that we need to rely on him. Even in our times of struggle, he helps us through it. And without God, I probably would not be here today.